So I see people are joining. So we'll just wait for a couple of minutes more before we start the session. So I can see people joining. So till the time, I request everyone to write your city from where you belong to and the company from where you are, so that we can get to know better what audience we have for today's session. Okay, great. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And I am Amit from Metionic Innovation, and I'll be your host for today's session. Before we begin, I would like to quickly walk you through a few housekeeping guidelines to ensure a smooth experience for everyone. This session is being recorded and will be shared with you after the webinar. All participants are currently on mute to avoid any background disturbances. If you have any questions during the sessions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A or chat window. We'll be addressing all your questions towards the end during the dedicated Q&A session. Now, a quick introduction to Metionic Innovation. At Metionic, we are leading DevSecOps and cybersecurity tool consulting company. For over 19 years, we have been helping organizations identify, evaluate, and implement the right tools across their entire SDLC lifecycle. We take pride in being a one-stop solution provider, covering all the gray areas where it comes to tool selections, integration, and optimization, whether it's a application security, cloud security, data security, or compliance. Our focus has always been to help enterprise not just adopt tools, but build strong, scalable, and secure ecosystems. Today's session is even more special as we are collaborating with Matters.ai. Our partnership with Matters.ai enables us to bring cutting-edge data security capabilities to enterprises, especially in the areas like data security posture management, DSPM, AI governance, and modern data risk management. Let's talk about why we are here today. India's DPDP Act is no longer just a compliance checkbox. It has become a boardroom priority. With rapid cloud adoption, increased AI usage, SaaS expansion, and ongoing digital transformation, sensitive data is now spread across environments faster than most organizations can track. And the biggest challenge, most organizations still lack complete visibility into where sensitive data resides, who can access to it, how it is being exposed to AI tools, and which data actually possess regulatory or operational risks. Traditional approaches like legacy TLP solutions are simply not enough anymore. This is where DSPM, data security posture management platforms, come into play, helping organizations build a strong foundation for DPDP compliance, AI governance, data risk management, and overall cyber resilience at an executive level. In today's session, you will gain insights into the difference between DSPM and traditional DLP solutions, ML-based classifications versus regex-based classifications, the critical role of data securities in AI security and governance. I won't take much time and I'll let the speaker and our expert speak about it. So now it's time to introduce our speaker for the day. We are joined by Dheeraj, the Chief Revenue Officer at Matters.ai. Dheeraj leads growth initiatives and works closely with organizations to help them secure sensitive data across cloud, SaaS, and endpoint environment. With extensive experience across enterprise, software, and startups, he specializes in simplifying complex security technologies and translating them into practical business-driven solutions. With that, I would like to hand over the session to Dheeraj. Dheeraj, the virtual stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Amit. And thank you everyone for joining in and taking this hour with me. I'm glad that Metonic is able to bridge the gap in the industry and continuously improving the learnings for the audience on various topics. And today being the topic of, why data security posture management platforms are foundational for the upcoming law, which is called DPDP. Uh, my name is Dheeraj, and I am the one of the co-founder and chief revenue officer at Matters AI. This is something which I'm doing as a second time in my career. I have been the CRO for a company called as PingSafe, which 2 years ago got acquired by Sentinel One. So understand the cybersecurity space fairly well, and also understand where and what is the most complex uh, engineering problem that people face today, which is around data. And as you see, the name suggests every single security leader, practitioner, when they go on stage and when somebody talk to them, after two or three questions, the eventual answer will be like, my data is the most sensitive thing that we want to protect. In fact, all the security investment that organizations are doing revolves around data. So, what better name for a data security company could be than Matters.ai? And that's the reason why we founded this company called Matters.ai. Uh, so let me kind of talk about some of the clock and the noise that are there in the market. Everybody's talking about. So on November 13th, 2025, the Indian government has passed a law for data protection and privacy, which is also not too uncommon for the people who have dealt with the global audiences. We have seen similar laws being passed in different countries like GDPR, PDPA, CCPA, and all of these common things. I think everybody is trying to ensure that their citizens' data, the personal data, is protected, and people have the right on top of that data. So this has become the foundational building block for the nation now, because as any other big business is trying to invest in the country, they would trust us more, because now as a country we respect somebody's privacy, and we are taking necessary steps in protecting their personal data. uh, uh, Another interesting timeline is like, the while the law is getting operational now, substantial fine obligation will come on May 13th, 2027. So the clock is ticking. But I would say, for those who has been looking at data security seriously from the inception, this enforcement is important, but then they will find that they're already doing a lot of things in this line. So you're in good hands, I would say. So let me kind of drill this down further and kind of explain it to you. The first and foremost, the most important question people see when they talk about any privacy law per se is around inventory. Where exactly my sensitive data lies? Do I have the visibility of every single piece of sensitive data that we have? Right now, a lot of organizations which are new age and they have built their application greenfield, they may still have confidence that I know my sensitive data is lying on my production databases, my core CRM, ERP, HRIS systems. They also know who owns what, but that's the formally tracked mechanism. But all of us who are practitioner and who live in our organization day and night, we know that those are not the only places where you will find sensitive data, because as we do business we tend to download portion of data in the form of sample data, or the data which is meaningful for our day-to-day work in various other places. Also sometimes we find data in object stores like S3, Azure Blobs, data lake platforms like Snowflake. In fact, I would say in the entire landscape, data lake has been the most notorious and the complex thing, because every time you go on an event or you have any campaign that is running on the ground, you will find somebody is collecting some raw data which is unmasked, unfiltered, being uploaded on your data lake platforms like Snowflake, Databricks, and so on and so forth. Similarly, I would say the SaaS platforms like Google Drive and M365 is also no different. It is also most familiar, most commonly used, but yet very, very complex to figure out which user in a large organization of 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 employees is using OneDrive and storing sensitive data in a particular OneDrive. That could be a sample of data, or that could be a portion of data. but the data is data, right? So how would you ensure that you have the visibility for that? Another interesting areas are things like your Jira tickets, or your SMB stores, or your even your local endpoints, the laptops and the desktops that you use. There are times when we found customers credit card information stored in an individual laptop, on a Mac device, in a CSV format. And we have seen incidents where there has been credit card information written in plain text on a particular Jira ticket, because somebody is asking this question that I have been overcharged on so and so credit card. Can you find out and tell me why this charge has been incurred? While the end user was unaware and he or she wrote the entire credit card number on the Jira ticket, that data lies in the system, and then it becomes unnecessary obligation for people who are holding that data. So I think what I'm trying to explain is that sometimes we think that we know and we are tracking the data, but then there are a lot of blinded spots when it comes to sensitive data for the users, which is what I've explained just now. Now, let me also touch upon, because you've been hearing this buzzword a lot about data classification. I would say data classification is not a, I mean, it's a depth question. It is not a pattern, question. And I'll explain it to you in a bit why I'm saying this, because you would find, a lot of companies have built some programs where they are started classifying the data. Historically, what used to happen is, they implement the software which allows them to manually classify a particular document, ideally at the time of inception. So when I create a document and write the first letter on a document, the tool or inbuilt capabilities allows me to classify data and say whether it is going to be a sensitive, or that is the best practice. But the problem with that best practice is it is either being implemented recently, or it, even if it is implemented in the past, it becomes very very hard to enforce it across the org, across all places and all types of data. Because something which a user is generating, and you can enforce and give the right training to a user to classify it before he start writing a document. But then how would you ensure that anything which is auto generated from a system, by default you're taking certain backups, or if there are third party vendors who are storing certain data, how do you ensure that the same level of discipline and uh, you know and the accuracy is given to every single person who works on your behalf with the customer data? And the second problem is the depth. Now, historically, we are known for doing regex-based pattern matching when it comes to classification. Now, I will give you classical examples of where the pattern matching tends to fail, even with certain simple definitive data elements like Aadhaar number. Now, a 12-digit number on a particular Confluence page, described during a vendor onboarding process, is categorized as Aadhaar number by default. But what if there is a phone number that also somebody is writing by using 91 and then the phone number? So that also classifies as Aadhaar number. So sometimes pattern matching is not just enough. Now I'll tell you, there are aspects where you will also have to build context awareness, which means, do you first of all apply algorithms like very complex algorithms or checksum algorithm which validate whether it is actually a credit card number or not. For example, in case of credit card or Aadhaar card, there are different definitive algorithms like Veroff or Lunt's algorithm, which kind of defines this is an actual credit card or not. But how would you build an additional context on top of that data? So Aadhaar found inside a loyalty program of a customer, or Aadhaar found in a Snowflake infrastructure for analytics purpose, or an Aadhaar found inside a SharePoint out of a compliance export file, or it is found inside a OneDrive of a particular analyst who is a user. Now, can you establish whether there is a lawful basis of you holding that Aadhaar? is something where you will match it with consent. If that guy is already a legitimate customer for you, you can hold the Aadhaar card. But then, is it too many people who is having the access of that? Answer is, not really right. You have to question that. Do I have to limit the data access to a very certain set of users, and define who can access, who cannot access? The third problem is around lineage aware, which means as the data shift from one place to another place, are you able to track the whole momentum? Like, are you able to track that this is the original creator, or this is the place where the document was originally stored, but somebody has made a copy of it or downloaded it in a personal drive, and then shared it with two other people or a particular group, and then from there, that group, it has gone to some other place, and then finally it is being downloaded by somebody on his or her personal laptop. This whole journey of data is called data lineage. And do are we having the right systems in place to be able to track that? Do we have that capabilities is something which we should also question. So as I mentioned in the beginning, classification is not just about pattern matching. It is also about how well and how depth you can go, how much depth you can go when it comes to classifying a particular document, right, or a data element. Right. Now, let me also kind of give you where exactly DSPM layer sits in the whole context of the privacy or DPDP life cycle. Now, typically, if you see, the definition says what data is private, who is accessing it, why do they need it, why do I know that allow and deny is revoked on that or not, and how do I manage the consent? These are like broad spectrum of questions being asked as per the law. We know there are certain set of existing data that we already have inherited. That existing data, you would want to probably send them a legal notice or or a letter saying that if you don't reply to this email, I'm assuming that I have by default your consent or something. But every time when there is a new data that is coming in, are you passing it through a particular consent management workflow, and taking the consent and storing the consent? Now the question comes is, consent is only the 10% of the problem. The bigger problem is figuring out where all the data exists inside your infrastructure. And as you generate various types of reports, and as you generate, things like, okay, generate a ROPA report or generate a DSR request report, do you have a mechanism, or do you have a visibility layer that can fetch information and tell you that, okay, this particular person's sensitive data is lying in three databases, uh, two object stores, and things go so and so forth, right? uh, so that's a very, very complex engineering problem. How do you try to simplify it and solve it is something which we now talk about, right? So in my opinion, the whole data journey start from protection and governance. The reason why I'm using the word protection first and the governance second is because as security practitioners, our primary job should always be to protect first. And if there has been an incident which we are not able to protect, are we building the enough guardrails to ensure that this incident will not happen again? And that is the reason why I'm using a combination of protect and govern together. So this is the loop. You will end up doing the data discovery and classification across various channels where you originally create the document, which is your cloud, SaaS, endpoints, and on-prem. Usually, these are the four places people will end up either creating or storing the data. Then you will also, cross verify it with, do you have consent on what data and on what not data? If there has been an incident where somebody is trying to revoke their consent, you will receive data subject request scans. And then, are you having the right policy engines to enforce around sensitive data? For example, if there is a particular file on your OneDrive which is holding PII data for a particular user, by mistake, somebody is making that file public. Is there a mechanism for you to track down and say the moment that file is being made public, I want it to be get alerted and I want that to be remediated immediately. And hence, for you to complete the whole cycle, you should have a very strong policy enforcement engine that not only focuses on policies but also focus on the remediation flow of it. So this is how you kind of complete the whole 9 yards of data protection and governance journey. Now, let me also give you a little bit of rundown on what all uh, functionalities of DPDP law and what all obligations of DPDP law can be managed by a DSPM platform like ours. And one is telling you about, are we continuously discovering and classifying the old and the new data. Second is, are you putting the reasonable security and safety safeguards? That's what I've just referred and talked about, the policy engine that is designed way before in advance, and you kind of write down all the scenarios that, okay, whenever a file is being made public, whenever a file is being shared org wide, how do I ensure that the sensitive labels on my data at rest lives as a metadata, and I ensure that my DLP will pick those metadata, and if somebody is trying to exfiltrate the data, I have necessary controls in place. How do I notify about a particular breach? What kind of data is getting affected? Um, how do I ensure the retention policies? If there are data which is more than 3 year old, 5 year old, are we purging it or deleting it? First of all, we don't even know what data is stale data in our organization. So how do we ensure that? And then give you the remediation steps on top of it. How do you ensure the grievance redressal? Like, for example, if somebody is saying, I don't want to receive any marketing email from you, please delete my record. So those are the kind of um laws that you have to adhere to, data principal rights, and also telling you, are you actually a significant data fiduciary and do you have obligation for that? So how do you know that? You typically right now follow a methodology called DPIA audits. DPIA audits stand for data privacy impact assessment. What typically in the past I have seen organizations do is they hire an external consultant who will do a DPIA audit for you, and that audit will be basically a, a set of questions, and they will ask you whether your application number A, which is holding sensitive data like PII or PCI, is it sending this data to any other application or any other source or any other dashboards or something like that? And if it is sending the data to that particular dashboard, is it sending in the form of masked format or unmasked format? Now you will have all of those insights coming from various sources, but typical old age DPI reports are always dependent on either certain manual checks or purely on the questionnaire based responses, right? There is no mechanism until the DSPM became very popular as a industry tool, where you can automatically check and figure out where all you are violating such rules. So I think this is how I would say a DSPM tool will map to a DPDP obligation. And I again wanted to enforce that is, a lot of people think that if I start my journey from a gap assessment point of view, what happens is you will end up hiring a consultant who will do process gap assessment and figure out where all do you have sensitive data, and then they will probably do a lot of questionnaire based gap assessment. But how do you substantiate that assessment without having a proper technical visibility? And that has become the hardest problem, right? So that's where I've seen sometime a typical gap assessment will be done in 2 to 3 months, but the implementation of the whole program takes sometime 6 months to a year, because the data is too huge and too complex to be addressed, and there is no one tool that is covering the whole 9 yards of requirement, which is fair. But then do you know where you have to invest what tool and what for what purpose, is something which is very, very clear. So At Matters, what we are trying to do is A, helping your journey by building an AI security engineer for your data. The reason why we are building an AI security engineer is because sometimes queries like where all do I have PAN card information in my entire infrastructure? Those are very simple query, but very hard for people to answer that on the fly. And why it is hard? Because if you look at it on the left hand side of my screen, the data sprawl is very big. You will have data coming in from your AWS, your Google, your Jira, your O365, your Windows laptop, your Mac laptop. So there are multiple sources from the data where the data is coming, and it is not always structured in nature. It is all, sometimes structured, but majority of the time where we have blind spot is unstructured data. So things like your documents, PDFs, images, Parquet file, CSV file, TSV file. And then to be able to figure out individual data element like PII, PCI, PHI is one thing. But to be able to figure out the whole document class, like how does a patent look like? And this is a pure play data security question, may not be compliance question alone, but like how does a MSA look like, and is this MSA sensitive for me to protect? Or how does a financial report or an annual operating plan look like? And to be able to classify that, and even if it is, say, renamed it as something else, to be able to classify that and making sure that we are complying to various compliance standard. This is what we have specialized in doing. I again reiterate this because I have seen various products, so many software products in the cybersecurity space and other. By far, one of the most complex engineering problem to be solved is to be able to figure out this whole data sprawl and do it at a scale, right? So that's something which we are committed to solve for our customers, and we've been very grateful that we have a lot of happy customers in this space. I'll take a small pause here, and if there is any question, I'll try to address. But otherwise, I can quickly, you know, jump into a short walkthrough or rundown of the platform, how it looks like, and how we can help our customers to do this at scale. Amit, is there any questions in the Q&A?
Uh, please ask any question if you have, so that we will also get to know. So apart from this, I hope everyone is with you, so you can continue with the dashboard and everything, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah.
So, like I said, I introduce, I think there is something on the chat.
Yes, I can see one question. Does your discovery and classifications cover any other languages than English script?
Yes and no, not out of the box, but the way we have built it is extremely modular in nature. So it is, ability is like adding a plugin for a particular new language. And then, obviously, every single new language will go through a certain amount of fine tuning in terms of, a feedback loop. So sometime an address is written in a different language is very different than the address written in English. So those kind of finding is required, but there is a very strong feedback loop, and then that can be achieved easily. Right? So, like I mentioned, we have built a AI security engineer. Yes,
Another
oh,
question I have, OCR image scanning.
yes, it is very much possible, and I'll show that to you in the demo as well.
Okay, great. So you can continue with the demonstration, and we'll take rest of the questions by the end of the session in the Q&A session.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned, that we built a very strong AI security engineer, which is designed to talk to you as your colleague or a next. So the question that I was iterating during my presentation, let me try to ask this question here. Show me where all do I have card my info. Now If I ask this question to anyone of my colleague in a live organization, the answer to this would take, sometime months, if not like weeks, or at least 2 3 days it will take easily, because they will go back, talk to the application team, talk to IT team, figure out what all are PCI zones and where all they have this data. But you will not be always be certain whether it is actually accurate or not. Do we have other blind spots in the organization? So I asked the same question to our AI, and trying to get the answer for this. Hopefully it takes about 12 to 13 seconds before it surfaces the right answer. Yeah, like I said, it took around 12 seconds to give me the answer. And the reason, so the way you see it here is we are able to surface, all the data stores that had credit card information in it, including a Windows endpoint, Office 365 SaaS account for a particular user, another endpoint which is Mac device, a Snowflake device, another Mac device, a Google Workspace account, a Snowflake account, right? And the list goes on, right? So how we are able to surface something like that at the first place is because we have very strong out of the box integrations built in for various platforms, including your all cloud accounts, all managed infra for data lakes, all SaaS platforms which are major in the game. We have a small lightweight agent that sits into your Windows, Mac, and Linux devices. We also ingest a lot of activity logs on top of it. So the whole purpose of our platform is not just to classify the data, but also monitor the activities on top of sensitive data, and to be able to surface how this sensitive data is moving within the organization or outside the organization. And you can only do that when you ingest the activity logs on top of the data that you're taking. In fact, we are not only just monitoring the activities on documents, we are also monitoring the activities on databases. So we ingest, various database activity logs, and then we are able to surface that to you. Now, what you get is a fairly comprehensive dashboard, which talks about, all the data that is there in the coverage, total data discovered, total scanned, and total sensitive data out of it. And then you will also get the sensitive data at risk, which means within the cloud, what percentage of data is publicly exposed, what is misconfigured, and what is protected. On the SaaS side of it, what is the biggest risk is, at times we end up creating a particular document, and then we say anyone who has the link can access this file. So basically, we make that file public, and we make that link publicly accessible, thinking that it's only I who have the link right now, but it's not the reality. And sometimes that link is viral, and people are putting, cron jobs on sensitive data like that, and sending sensitive data to various Telegram channels and things like that. So there are security risks when document is public. When document is externally shared, it is very important. People I have seen, sometime in fintech organizations, there are third party, people who do KYCs, and they end up sharing sensitive data of a particular customer on a Gmail ID or their personal accounts, which is also very unfair. And then there is a risk on any document which is shared org-wide, unless and until it is an org-wide policy that is shared for everybody. So there has been incidents where a particular sensitive salary document, or a payroll, sheet has been made public, or made org-wide, shared org-wide, or shared in a group which has more than 10 users or 15 users. So kind of increasing the risk. So you can write multiple such policies to be able to figure that out. I think in my demo instance, I have not onboarded an on-prem infrastructure, but otherwise you would see. And then you will also see on your endpoints, what are the critical data, and what are the risks behind all these kind of data. You can also see various misconfigurations, and these misconfigurations are mapped to various compliance frameworks as well. So when I click on DPDPA, there are very generic high level mapping that is required, So if you go and see, this particular link, it will take you to specific alerts that are triggered, because it is not just violating DPDP, but it is also violating multiple other compliance frameworks as well. So things like, PCI DSS and HIPAA and NIST as well, because having an S3 bucket publicly accessible is something which is cutting across. But yes, there are certain things which are very, very native to DPDP. We kind of give you pretty much all the risk at one level. Then ability to give you a demonstration of, where does your sensitive data live at a high level across all the, major places where it is originated, and giving you a geographical view, like you have a sensitive data in North Virginia, Frankfurt, Chennai, and Asia. Now the moment, and then there are incidents where you wanted to track down that my regulated zone is India, but how come my data is outside India? So I will explain that to you also in a bit. Various category of data. You sometimes think that, I don't have any PCI data in my organization, but there might be a user who is carrying some sort of a data from his previous organization, and then uh, you know uh, by default he has copy pasted that data in his official laptop and unnecessarily putting your organization at risk. So there has been incidents like that. Similarly, on each and every data elements, like you want to know how much JWT token. Oh, this is an IT security risk, but there are places where we are able to find JWT token in somebody's OneDrive or a particular laptop, or so you can see each and every data element that we support, and you can see where exactly it is being found. Even to things like Stripe secret keys and Shopify tokens and things like that. And what exactly is the risk and where exactly the risk is concentrated, so you would know which account are the most risky accounts, which users are the most risky users. All of that is a part of quick dashboards. If you also deal with database activities on a day-to-day basis, you would want to know which of your databases need immediate attentions. You would want to know what is the overall alert and remediation trend. You would want to know query trend over the period of time. You would want to know the top DAM alerts that you see in a day. What exactly is your database postures, particularly all the users which are risky, all the SQL command that are being run on that. And the most important is the most sensitive column being accessed by whom. So that is an advantage of somebody who is monitoring a database, activity, and it is correlating with sensitive data, so that it gives better sense to you. And what exactly it means towards the end for you is, how do I make some sense out of it? What is the risk? So we automatically have created multiple policies which will surface data risk like this. An S3 bucket with PCI data found outside the regulated region. So I created this example for a European company which is trying to keep the data inside Germany, but then the data is found in Poland or vice versa. So you can define the boundaries and then accordingly figure out how do I fix this. And then you can see all the data stores which is affected. When you click on this data store, you will find what kind of data is it is holding, and what is the path of the data, and what is the sensitivity label, and what is the label of this data. So it kind of completes the whole story, right? And it also helps you to kind of generate the entire remediation plan. I think somebody before me has already remediated this alert, but you can see it when it comes to generating the remediation plan, it is all happening through an AI. So you're interacting it and it is giving you the steps, and then it is talking to you in a way that, okay, should I copy the whole data in a new zone and then try to remediate it? So all of that is one. The other thing is about stale data that I want to talk about. So you will see, a particular PCI data has not been moved or changed for more than a month. Now, this 1 month can be configured to 5 years or 3 years, because for the demo sake, we don't have that kind of old data. So we just put a threshold for a month so that we get an alert accordingly. But in an organization, you would find people are storing sensitive data for more than 3 years, and their actual compliance regulation is only for 3 years. And by just doing this, we are able to clean up more than 10 terabyte of storage, which is a huge cost savings for them, providing the right remediation steps, how do we move this data, and things like that. Now there are other types of data risk which are related to actions being performed on your sensitive data. So you would find any attacker will try to attack your organization, but they will try to exfiltrate the data in a very low and slow manner, which means they will take a smaller chunk of data, which is usually unsuspicious, and then they will take it for over a period of time, small data. So here, what we are trying to tell you is that we give you what happened, when and where it happened, and what is the raw event, because we are, like I said, we track the activities around the sensitive data. So we are now tracking and we are saying that because of this raw event, that alert has been triggered, and how do I remediate this? Giving you entire playbook for this remediation, right? Uh, I think this is a very high level overview. Now, some of you may be curious about how does the actual data catalog look like. So let me go and tell you in a particular cloud account, how does it look like? So for example, if I open this S3 bucket, I am able to tell you that there are more than 20, there are around 28 files inside this bucket, which holds 5.5 million sensitive records. And we scanned image files, documents, PDF, Excel, compressed file, even logs and parquets and all that. We don't have that, but you can see how we are neatly giving the bifurcation of how much sensitive records we found in each of these categories. And then what is the associated misconfigurations? As somebody who has played and been in the cloud security space for quite some time, I know CSPM also used to give you an alert saying that your S3 bucket is not secured or not encrypted. But the problem is we tend to ignore a medium severity alert because we don't know what data inside that bucket. So in this case, we are giving you first what data you have, then telling you what misconfiguration this bucket has, then also allowing you to validate some of the sample data and say, okay, you want to validate this, these are the paths where the sample data is found, and then telling you who has the access to this bucket. And this has been the most common issue that I've seen, where you know organizations have given very cautiously certain read roles to a particular user or a particular application. They have given read and write roles, but then they have given read and write and management role to a lot of people, because this is the default role which get copy pasted most amount of time. And look at this, somebody has given read write and management role to a Databricks, which means if there is a supply chain attack that happens via Databricks, that user can wipe out the entire bucket. So we are able to give you that level of visibility. Similarly, on the SaaS side of it, you would find that heuristically, this user has the highest amount of sensitive records, and hence we are showcasing it on the top. And you will see it has PCI and personal and both kind of records. When I click on this user's OneDrive, I'm now able to see that there are more than 930 files. But interestingly, it's not just only data elements, which is like, you know, addresses and emails. We're also telling that we found patent published and patent pending, which means it is a completely unstructured document class. And our machine learning algorithms has the ability to figure out, uh, you know, what does a patent pending file look like, and to be able to classify and surface it here. Above all, I wanted to see a overall file level view. So say I have in total 3,200 files across all the SaaS users, but I want to see which one is the most risky file right now. So I go to sharing mode and I see, tell me which is publicly shared. The moment I found something publicly shared, now there is no pattern of this file. It's just saying 2.jpg, which means the file name is saved like that. But the content inside this is clearly identifying that it is a KYC document data identified as personal data, and somebody has made an anonymous link for this file, which is holding a sample data like this. And now I want to know what activity is being performed on this file. And I see on 1st of January, somebody is trying to download this file. and then I can see who is the actor who is downloaded and all that. Now, do I expect you to go on each and every file and do this level of investigation? Answer is no. That is the reason why we have built the entire policy engine. We write policies in a way that it can trigger alerts for you. So these policies are basically continuously absorbing the logs, activity logs, in correlation with the sensitivity level, and it is giving you various alerts for various purposes, right? So I think this summarizes the demo to a high level. If you want to go deep down and if you have any specific questions, happy to answer. And my contact details and QR code for LinkedIn is available here. Any questions? Happy to answer this.
Yeah, that was a great session, Dheeraj, I must say. Till we have one question that I can see. I'm not sure about. Great demo, appreciated, Dheeraj. Okay, how is Chennai and ACES in the same bucket for sensitive data? That I saw.
Um, Let me. I'm not sure where they have noticed this.
Yeah. Mm. So I would also
Okay,
like to.
okay. So Chennai and Asia in same. No, no. There are two different tabs. So let me explain that to the audience here. So these are two different tabs. Usually Asia means Singapore, and Chennai is somebody's maybe a SMB store in Chennai, and then Frankfurt and other things are like basically AWS environment. So the idea is to kind of give you the visibility of where this data lies, and then it is kind of spread across. And if you have data in multiple other countries, this will expand and it will start giving you where all what data you have and all that.
Uh, Great. So will we get this PPT or recording? So you will be having the recording of the session. We'll be sending you that. What kind of reports can be generated, which can be readily consumed by regulators during various audits?
So you can generate the data like PII visibility record. So you can select the kind of data elements that you want to see and across various infrastructure. What we have also done is we have built report schedulers, which means you can automatically schedule various reports. Interestingly, we have also created MCP servers for this. So for a lot of people who wanted to play around and create their own dashboards and report, uh, each account is authenticated by a authentication mechanism, and you can use it uh, using MCP server and generate your own report.
Yes. If you want some POC, you can have this. We will be sharing a link where you can directly connect to us, and we will be have you can have a one-on-one session where we'll be discussing about the prerequisites and how the things can work, how we can start the POC and everything. We'll have that session, and after that we can start the POC. So there is no. I believe the Dheeraj, that is possible. We can have the
Yes.
POC of.
So, Mechanic is our prestigious partner, and they have been helping us facilitating a lot of customer POCs. Uh, your details probably is already there. We can contact you back and schedule a time for a deep dive POC plans, and definitely we can start this.
So I had one question, like from business point of view, because I am taking care of the business parts basically. So how can organizations justify the ROI of investing in DSPM platforms? Like currently, as we see, we have DLP solutions, in fact, DPDP, lots of things are coming in.
So, yeah, I think this one part which was missed during my presentation is a lot of people confuse this by DLPs. DLPs were
Yes.
there in the industry for last 20 odd years. It was foundationally designed to block pen drive access and some sort of access from laptops and desktop. When the problem moved from laptop to email, people have another type of DLP called email DLP, and then network DLP, and then cloud and SaaS. Everybody is really good at blocking without understanding what to block. And I'm not saying that classification is not something which they don't do. Classification came as an afterthought to them, and they have built a regex-based policy engine to classify certain things. Now, look at an example where a 10-digit number that starts from 9, 8, 7, and 6 is a phone number in India. If that number is found on a particular laptop, your regex-based classification will classify it accurately as phone number. The moment you put another space and write an email, your email based classification engine will say this is an 11 digit number and there is a separate policy called 11 digit is equal to account ID. Then when it goes to SaaS, somebody put one more space in between and it becomes 12 digit number. And at that time, that same thing will become, say, Aadhaar card. So if you do not have the right identification on the same number across different layers, it is very hard for you to enforce policy. That is problem number one with DLP, because they use different lens to classify. The problem number two is they are doing all the action at motion. You would need action at rest also, which means, okay, if somebody is trying to exfiltrate the data, you can try to block it. But do you know who is accessing your data right now when it is not moving right now? So from a governance point of view, you will have that kind of visibility that I have a bucket or I have a particular OneDrive or G drive where I'm holding this kind of sensitive data and this file is being accessed by so many users. That is the level of visibility which is right now missing in the industry. I will give you classic examples why this visibility is important. Because one of our internal engineer, what he was doing is he was trying to automate certain things, and there are a lot of RFPs that we used to fill. And there is a particular, he created a G drive, uploaded all the RFP that was pre-filled, created a rack pipeline, put a entire vector database, and then build a small Slack bot so that every time there is a new RFP comes, he will put a question and he get the response that we do this or not do this and the detailed responses and all that. It was a very good business use case, but the folder that he's created and in the rack pipeline is holding a lot of sensitive data. I do not want, I want a filtering there. I say, okay, if you are putting something there, at least remove this. Who will give that kind of a visibility? So visibility is becoming the key here. DLP can still continue to work because they are the, I would say, remediation layer. They are the blocking layer. So what we do is we coexist with those TLPs and CASBs. We ensure that we put the metadata on the document, and that metadata is like a GPS tag to a document. If we classify a document as sensitive, internal, and that a metadata sits inside the document, whichever DLP you're using, you can update the policy saying that instead of looking at the file name, look at the metadata, and you can only job that you have is to decide yes and no based on the metadata tag. So so there are innovative ways where you can make it very production ready.
Mhm. Understood. Understood. So, since you mentioned the difference between DLP as well as DSPM, we have another thing that DLP are only policy enforces.
Easy.
Anything above is uphill task, right? Uh, so,
You're absolutely right.
right. So I have another question. Like, is if since we are talking so much about DLP as well as DSPM, so is DSPM more of a security investment or a business risk and management tool? Because we can see data has different parts and different uh,
I
uh,
would say I would say both, but a large portion of what DSPM does is risk and governance and visibility for you.
okay, okay, understood, understood.
So
So if any,
it's like a derivative enabler. So once you have the visibility, then you can do a lot of things on top of it. Now, how you want to do it is up to you.
right, right, right. Okay. So I think that was a really great session, and we got good responses from our audience also. So if you want to have a one-on-one session, we are just sharing one link, or maybe you can directly connect to you can connect to us for further details or one-on-one session. We will be connecting you, and you will be getting the recording session for the entire thing. And for any questions, you can also keep it in the chat box. We will be trying to answer as many questions after, even after the session, because chat is obviously it's open, right? So thank you very much, Dheeraj, for your insights. And yeah, this was really an insightful session. We will now, it's been an awesome afternoon. We hope you found this session valuable for our audience, and we'll close the session with, yeah. So we'll close this session for today, and we'll be coming up with another session, some brainstorming session where you can also ask some questions. We will be also having what's going in the market. We always come up with some of the other things that is booming in the market, and by what time can we expect the recording? Most probably by the end of the day, or most maximum by tomorrow morning, you will be getting the recordings. Okay, so we will be on top of it. You will be having this as soon as possible. We'll try our best to process each and every thing, and give all the resources to you as soon as possible. Okay, so you will be getting it on your email, and we'll be connecting to you for further questions if you may have. Okay, great.